Hello and a warm welcome to Boardroom Talk. I'm Alec Hogg. Well, usually when we gather here, we talk about things that are pretty important. Double check our facts, making sure that we don't steer you in the wrong direction. Business is a pretty serious business. And if you give the wrong information to someone who then acts on the investment advice or suggestions or information, well, you must know that there is someone is going to have some pretty bad responses. But today, we're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about economics. We're not talking about investments. We're talking about pure fiction. Absolute garbage. Fake news of the top order. Donald Trump would be able to go crazy about this stuff. And what it is a dangerous, highly lucrative, created fiction by an organization who is almost certainly in Myanmar or Eastern Europe or maybe somewhere else in Asia, where they are using my image and the SABC's supposed website, not the SABC's website, but they're using logos and so on, to create an impression that there's been some sensationalistic news going on and that I attacked the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, in a live interview on Carte Blanche. Why the SABC would report on Carte Blanche, which is part of the whole multi-choice area, anyway, is anybody's news. But I suppose they're trying to find credible reasons to get people to give their money to them and essentially to steal. And a lot of this stuff is absolute nonsense. But let me tell you exactly what has happened here. Let's have a look at the images, which will give you a much better understanding of exactly what is going on. For those of you who are watching this as a video broadcast, take a look at the image on your screen. And what you see is a meticulously cloned copy of the SABC News website. The layout, the fonts, even the menu bars. They've ripped it all off to create a veneer of state broadcaster legitimacy. And then there's the headline, quote, "You are lying to millions of hardworking South Africans," unquote. How Alec Hogg exposed Cyril Ramaphosa's secrets live on Carte Blanche. Well, to me, this is really just about the lowest level of awfulness that I can imagine. But for many people watching this, they'll have a look at the headline and then see the image of me that is leaning across the desk, as you can see there, pointing a finger at the President of the Republic, while a presenter sits awkwardly between us. So let me first state unequivocally, for the record, this event never happened. I've never ambushed the president on Carte Blanche. In fact, I just don't ambush people. That's not my style. I like to give them the opportunity to share the way that they see the world and then perhaps ask them pointed questions so that they can confirm why they have that opinion. I'm not the kind of journalist, never have been, who goes for the gotcha. I gotcha, Mr. Ramaphosa, as they might suggest in this. So that's the reality. But there are a lot of people, I guess, who don't know those niceties, and a lot of people might be thinking, I'm as angry as they are. Well, as a professional journalist, you don't have that luxury. But anyway, that's a subject for another matter. But if you look closely at this manufactured drama, the cracks very quickly begin to show. These images and those that follow are entirely generated by artificial intelligence. The syndicates who are trying to part you from your money have used AI image generators to create a storyboard of nonsense. Look at this picture of the president to see exactly what I'm talking about. If you go to the bottom right of the image of him, you'll see that there is a logo that quite clearly belongs to Gemini. And then if you have a look at the next one, I mean, how they got, I suppose, 10 years plus off me, and then a person who looks like me to go across from the studio set and start shouting at the president, as you can see here. Now, I suppose in somebody's fantasy, they would enjoy doing this. This just, again, it's incredibly unprofessional and not what I hope I ever do in my life. But anyway, there is the dramatic action or photograph of it, supposed, all generated by AI. And there is a very self-satisfied, smug-looking hog sitting at the desk while the president supposedly walks off the set. Caption reading, and he walked out of the studio without looking back. The studio sat in stunned silence for exactly 3 seconds. Then it exploded. It's bizarre. An image of me sitting alone at this fictional BBC Carte Blanche desk under the heading, Why He Refused to Stay Quiet. Notice again the bottom right-hand corner of every single one of these images, and you'll see a small sparkling star icon. This is an AI watermark for Gemini. It's the digital footprint of a machine-generated image. But in the heat of the moment, scrolling through this on a mobile phone, most people, and you can see the comments on social media, won't notice these logos. They'll just see the SABC logo in the beginning, a sensational headline, and a familiar face. So why do they go to all this trouble? This must have taken a lot of time to put together. And of course, there are clearly legal implications for the organization that's done this. And our legal team are looking at it. Why would they invent a massive, supposedly political fallout on national television? Well, the reason's quite clear. Criminals know that anger and frustration drive clicks. This is clickbaiting. They know that the South African public is frustrated with the economy. We've had 9 years of complete abuse from the Zuma regime. And subsequent to that, to fix it is not going to happen overnight. Imagine your house had been completely trashed. The guys who come in to sweep up aren't going to be able to do that instantaneously. And the Ramaphosa group are trying their best, certainly from what I'm seeing, to clean house in South Africa. But it takes time. And the public is not patient. It's frustrated. The economy, with the load shedding, and with the political status quo, and the continuous missteps that happen as natural part of being South Africa, I suppose. Now they're using that and my reputation as an independent financial journalist to be prepared to ask questions of anybody and weaponize the public's frustration to bait the hook. And where does the hook lead? Well, it leads to this page. Straight to a registration for something called Capital X. Once you click through this fake SABC article to see what secrets I supposedly exposed on this interview, you are aggressively funneled into a registration portal. It demands your name, your surname, your email, and your phone number. And notice the psychological tricks that are at play here. At the top of the form, you'll see a blinking red light that proclaims 5,712 people are viewing this page right now. Hey, so that tells you, get going, get busy. Below that, it states registration closes on the 20th of April, 2026. That's today. at 23:59, 1 minute to midnight, making you think, wow, this is something I can't lose out on. The crooks are creating a manufactured frenzy. They're creating a fear of missing out. And the instructions tell the victim to wait for a call from a representative, and then, and here's the kicker, they demand a minimum deposit of 4,100 Rand to activate a supposed AI trading system that promises instant results. Paul O'Sullivan has spoken with us at length about this in the past, and we've got an in-depth interview on how this is a classic modus operandi of transnational crime syndicates. Guys who are sitting in Myanmar or Eastern Europe or perhaps some part of Asia, having a look at the South African market, advised that this is the face that you should be using, this is the logo that you should be using, i.e. SABC, and Carte Blanche, mixing it all together. Fortunately, it's easy enough for us to see where they've made the mistakes, even leaving in the Gemini logo. But they're preying on the ignorance and, let's face it, greed of those who see this. Here's Hogg saying to us, I believe that this is the reason you're stopping people from actually going and making lots of money out of this capital X, whatever the heck it's supposed to be, using my good offices and indeed conning those that they engage with. So once you input your details, within minutes, you get a call from a very well-trained, highly persuasive scammer operating out of a boiler room. Call them boiler rooms because they have lots of people in there, and that's all they do all day. Quite a few South Africans, actually, who've been transported off to Myanmar, and they sit in these, basement organizations, some of them unable to leave until they've generated enough from their scamming to be able to come home. They think they're going to go there and make a lot of money. It's a job, after all, to them. But what they're doing is they're preying on their fellow South African citizens. Those who deposit the 4,100 Rand in good faith, and it's gone forever. And worse, after that 4,100 Rand is gone, they will relentlessly hound you forever. You're going to have to change your email address and your cell phone to get rid of these people. It's not a uniquely South African problem, but we are being aggressively targeted. According to a recent report in the Financial Times, these AI-facilitated celebrity-endorsed scams have become a multi-billion-dollar global industry. As our friend Magnus Haystack from Brenthurst Wealth rightly pointed out in a recent interview, it leaves legitimate financial commentators in a terrible bind. Our faces and our life's work are being hijacked to destroy the wealth of the very people we're trying to inform. So let's get back to the why. Why should we bother? The so what? Well, first of all, it tells us that we need to be a heck of a lot more digitally savvy than we have been in the past. Anything that says deposit now is saying to you, I'm a scam. Anything that's trying to chase you into doing this is actually not worth spending any time whatsoever on it. It's that old story that if you pick up a share tip at the golf course, it's very likely that somebody is using the useful idiots, i.e. your pal you might be playing golf with, to buy the shares that they're offloading and couldn't sell through legitimate channels. Be careful of that. Be careful, even more careful, of this nonsense. So how do you check it out? Well, the first thing is go to the top of the screen for the address. And as you can see on the scam, which is at the top there, although it's been replicated as SABC News, the address is something called kirovas.pro. The legitimate address will say the name of the company. And as you can see there with SABC News, it says the legitimate address, sabcnews.com. Same thing with BizNews. You'd go there, it would have the BizNews category as well. So the other issue that we need to be considering ourselves with is when you have a look at these digital issues, these digital scamsters, they haven't got it quite right. They have got pretty sophisticated and they've got a lot better. There was an organization called Bankso, which took many people in South Africa, including an advocate, who then came to us and said, I've been ripped off by these people. They were using images of Johann Rupert and Nicky Oppenheimer. And they were saying to us in their voices, the AI voices, that we should invest alongside them in this scheme. We put the 4,100 Rand in. Funny how it's always 4,100 Rand. Must be something, I suppose, that they've worked out psychologically. We put the money in, and then they told us, no, we need to put more, and we need to put more. And, well, you can go through BizNews and you'll find some terrible stories of people who've lost their life savings. But that advocate who was ripped off has made it her life's work almost to hunt down Bankso, and Bankso was liquidated. So that's gone. But there are many more operators who are still around. So the only protection you have is your own deliberate disciplines. I've told you before, if somebody says, get in now, otherwise, ignore it. That's rubbish. Where you get a supposed website, have a look at the address at the top, the URL as they call it. If it's from anything other than biznews.com, it's not from biznews.com. Have a look for those watermarks, those visual glitches, like the Gemini watermark on the images. And just be smart. Just reflect. Why is it that you, of all people in the world, are being given this inside track to go and make gazillions? And why, if it was true, would someone like me or Magnus or Johann Rupert or whoever, Elon Musk is a favorite use by these scammers, why would they be going public to tell you that you can make all this money by going through a particular organization, in this case, something called Capital X? Just be sensible. Suspend your disbelief and actually cut it off where it needs to be by reporting it to the social media operators, but by telling everybody you know to stay away from it. This particular scam has generated a lot of interest on social media. Some people think I'm doing a great thing, or I did a great thing by attacking South Africa's president. And they would be only too happy then to give this Capital X the money that they feel it deserves. It's garbage. It's rubbish. It doesn't exist. It's not true. So please just spread this far and wide to everyone that you know so that we can protect our loved ones from becoming victims of these insidious malfeasance. Well, thanks for joining me here, and look forward to being back with you for a boardroom talk of a, more positive venture into the future. I'm Alec Hogg. Until the next time, cheerio.